Okay. I'm back. I think. Am I back? I'm so annoyed. Oh my God. The entire city block went out. And then came back. Electricity went out for everyone and then came back. Great stuff. Great stuff for LA infrastructure. Love living in this third world nation, developing nation. This young upstart, young up and coming nation, you know? All that woke DEI gets taken out, all of a sudden, look where we're at, you know? Anyway, hold on. I'm gonna try to find where I was at. I had to turn off everything, turned off, and then turned on again. Oh. Welcome back to NA infrastructure. It's LA infrastructure that's like worse than NA infrastructure. It's a different, totally different demon, totally different beast. Only to return. Click the three dots on the upper right corner. Should be an option to reopen all tabs. No. Here. We're gonna finish that Al Jazeera video, yes. Hold on. Okay. I got it. I'm doing all of it. Hold on. I love this. It's fantastic. Nothing weird about the way that this our infrastructure operates, our infrastructure works. Nothing weird about it at all. Perfectly normal, perfectly healthy, functioning society. Dude, I need to say this, with a new camera setup and set looks insanely good. Thank you. Weren't you just talking about how you have backup generators? Yeah, but they're currently not connected, ironically enough. Because of the previous issue that happened. So you expect to get culture shock when you go to another country that you haven't been in before or for a while, less so you come home? Yeah. All right. You're doing everything you can. It's okay. Yeah. Where were we? Where did we leave off? Like here, I think. Wait, what the hell? There it is. Okay. Battery backup plus solar is goated, by the way. Yeah, I know.
Lots of speculation, both here in the U.S. and in the Middle East, is what is his ultimate aim? Most people, I feel from my discussions and following.
Investing in UPS is a battery backup? Oh, dude, no way. I didn't realize. Thank you. Dog, I have 2 generators and a UPS. Okay? I have it. The problem is that I was knocked off of it this morning, so I had to literally turn around and jerry-rig a contraption, a separate power source, while my actual you're just not tech savvy. Y'all are fucking stupid, okay? This is one of the areas where I am tech savvy. God damn it, dude. Don't piss me off on this. No, I literally do have 2 generators and also a backup battery as well. The issue, on the other hand, right now is that they have no juice. So they're currently charging, and I had to jerry-rig a separate outlet off of the generators. Anyway, let's continue.
This, most people tend to feel that what he's trying to do is put out there an outrageous proposition that he knows is not feasible, but he wants it to soften the Saudi position on normalization with Israel. This is the big prize that the U.S. under Biden and now under Trump, that they've always looked for. They want to get Saudi Arabia and Israel to have normal diplomatic relations, feeling that this would open the door to all the other Arab countries following suit. And the Saudis have actually taken a harder line position after the Trump proposal.
They have these 300Ah LiPo batteries you can chain twice. I have industrial grade battery generators.
So these are incredibly important discussions. They're going to focus narrowly on the discussions in Florida today are going to focus on the negotiations to release the hostages and the Palestinian prisoners.
And are you on that? Are you, and the ceasefire in general, are you fearful now, given what's being said by the president about the efficacy, the solidity of the ceasefire deal as a whole?
No, I don't put a lot of emphasis on what Trump says. He says all kinds of things. He changes his mind. He clarifies. He denies. So he's not a reliable source, as the news business people say, though he is president of the United States. So what he says has to be considered seriously, but it should not be taken as a clear path towards a policy. It has other motives, some business, some personal, some family relationships, some investment opportunities, and then cajoling people on both sides, pressuring people. So it's a fascinating study and sort of kaleidoscopic diplomacy, a kaleidoscope, when you turn it, all the pieces move and then a new situation comes about. So I think that we have to let the process play itself out, focus on the negotiations, the second phase that's supposed to start. Everybody, and I mean everybody, wants the Israeli hostages released and the Palestinian prisoners released, and the ceasefire to be permanent, and the Israelis to get out of Gaza.
Okay, well, the exchange is due again for this weekend, isn't it? You could argue, perhaps, finally, Rami, you could argue perhaps that in a way he's made the world more aware of what Israel has done in Gaza.
Oh, absolutely, including American officials going to visit. And I'm hoping the media, the global media, will be able to go soon, even though many of them, including Al Jazeera and others, have Gazan journalists who are sending out reports. So yes, and this is what the Israelis desperately want to stop. They want to stop two things. They want to stop the world seeing what Israel does militarily and, with prisoners and all the terrible things it does. And that's why it's so widely discussed now in terms of both apartheid and genocide. And it wants to stop any discussion of the historical background to the situation in Gaza, the Palestine Zionism conflict, the Arab-Israeli conflict. It wants desperately to prevent any historical analysis. And it's increasingly unsuccessful in doing that because more and more people are going to the Middle East, they see now the West Bank, what's going on. Therefore, the trend for the Israelis is not good. They've lost their ability to completely dominate the narrative of the Arab-Israeli conflict and the Palestinian people in the West, in the media, and in officialdom. So it's quite extraordinary. I'm reading now the book, amazing book by Ilan Pappé, the Israeli historian, on the history of Zionist lobbying in the West, in England and the US. It's a 450-page monster, but it is the most amazing analysis based on total historical factual truths about how Israel has succeeded in doing what it's done, which is create a Jewish majority state in a Palestinian land that in 1920 was 93% Arab, including my family in Nazareth. So this is what they're trying to prevent, the Israelis, any discussion of this, and they're slowly losing control of this narrative.
All right, Rami, thanks for that. Rami Khoury speaking to us there from the United States, from Boston.
CBS News is seeing firsthand how U.S. humanitarian.
Yeah, RFK Jr. putting methylene blue in his water for flying his prime were so bad. Methylene blue while flying mitigates any radiation burden, protects against oxidative stress, antiviral so you don't catch a cold, boosts autophagy if fasting on flight. If also that dose I don't recommend, but he's spearheading a movement, so I get it. I don't know what this does, but whenever I see RFK doing something, I assume it's probably bad. This is probably methylene blue, which was originally an industrial dye, but is shown to be biologically active and was used in effective early malaria treatment. We know that at the wrong doses, it's neurotoxic, but there are worm and mouse studies that small doses could have small positive effects on memory and longevity. There have been a couple small human studies that have shown small effects and others that have shown no effect. This is true of many compounds that turn out to have no or negative effect on human biology. It has become a meme supplement with lots of exaggerated claims in the pseudo-health space. There is no robust research that it has positive impacts on people, which makes it sound like, well, it might, and yeah, it might, but like anything might. And if we don't know it works at all, definitely don't know that the dose is effective and safe, which does make the eyedroppers full of it concerning. The point is we don't know, and RFK Jr. very clearly prefers vibes to methods of science. Good stuff overall. Also, dying prematurely in car accidents also prevents cancer. True. That is true. A very effective way to end all medical problems is to just die. Everybody knows you can't have additional medical issues if you simply die, forehead. I have to use this stuff in experiments. Use gloves when I use it, lol. This is part of the reason why I've also maintained the position that RFK Jr. will probably die in a very mysterious way, where, I mean, in an expected way, but in a mysterious one where it'll take a long time to figure out exactly what did him in, because there are numerous different factors at play. When it ends up happening, people will, like, the field of medicine will have a field day. All right.
First
AOC is mocked after calling Elon Musk one of the most unintelligent billionaires I've ever met.
Foremost,
Mocked by who? The New York Post readership.
understand that there is already in a federal agency who is a watchdog on waste in the United States. That is known as the government.
You realize this liquid is normal, right? You like to make a big song and dance about small things like that. I mean, it's at most an unnecessary risk that you're taking on, and at best, it might have marginal benefits. You're just eating dye, dude. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, can I not just say it's stupid to eat dye? Industrial blue dye? Like, is that where we're at now? I can't even say it's fucking stupid. I have to sit here and be like, no, that's actually brilliant. Like, what is going on, man? Yeah, no, I think it's stupid to drink dye, okay? It's especially stupid when you've made an effort to consistently talk about how dangerous shit like this is, okay? And yes, there are a lot of chemicals and stuff like this that I drink. But you want to know what the difference is in stuff like this that I drink versus industrial blue dye? One has a tremendous amount of research, okay, that shows that it is fine to consume. Ironically enough, the blue dye people then also regularly look to the research to claim it's actually much more dangerous. Yes, it is dangerous if you consume it in unimaginably high quantities, okay? But so is everything. That Chatter's PFP, yeah. Chatter came in hot. Being like, excuse me, you make a mountain out of a molehill with stuff like this. I'm not. Also, you are not the Secretary of Health and Human Services, so it doesn't even matter what you do in regards to this. Like, this was something that people didn't understand about ivermectin, where people just consistently were yelling at the wrong things in defense of ivermectin. People were not saying ivermectin is not, effective in treating certain diseases or certain parasites specifically, okay? Or that humans can't consume ivermectin, okay? Its most common usage is in horses, is a horse dewormer, and that's why many people were purchasing it from places where you get horse dewormer. And we're using the horse quantities, the medicine specifically designed for horses. Okay? Horses are much larger animals, so there's obviously an issue there. Anyway. Yeah. People were sucking down on horse paste. But even that wasn't the actual issue here. The actual issue was that there was a false sense of security placed upon ivermectin as ivermectin is the savior. When the actual creators of ivermectin kept saying that there is no evidence that this actually helps with COVID. No evidence whatsoever. And those guys have all the opportunity to lie and say it has tremendous benefits for COVID. They would make a lot of money off of shilling ivermectin if it actually prevented or treated COVID. Never forget when Joe Rogan got COVID, threw the kitchen sink at it instead of the vaccine, literally turned gray. Yeah.
Accountability office. So all of these people acting like, oh, we're going to set up an agency to identify waste, as though that's never been an idea before. Like, take a number. These people, and I can tell you, in my experience, I have encountered many billionaires in my career. You all have seen many of those encounters in hearings, in other, forms of questioning, etc. I can tell you that this
Joe Rogan turning gray was a filter CNN used? No, dog. What do you mean? It was from his Instagram. I watched his actual Instagram. I didn't watch the CNN coverage.
Dude
initially
is probably one of the most unintelligent.
It's understandable that he looked like shit. He had COVID, dude. What are you talking about?
Billionaires I have ever met or seen or witnessed.
Methylene blue is literally a fucking medication, not a dye unless chemical infused. Do the math. It's not that hard. Why did you come in? Oh, God. I don't know what's wrong with my computer. Look at this. It's just not even loading shit. It's so goddamn annoying. Oh, my Lord. What is happening? Is this a Twitch-related problem or is this just my computer? I can't tell. Just you? Okay. Hoping that this will fix the issue. Nope. Failed to load module. Clear cache? How do you clear the cache? Is it in settings? Go to browser history. No, I don't want to delete my browsing data. I don't want to get logged out of a bunch of stuff. Yeah. Control H, delete browsing data. Browsing history, time range, last hour. Okay, that's good. Okay. Let's see if this worked. Oh, it did work. I think. Oh, thank God. It worked. Okay, one less problem to freaking worry about. Why did that even happen? Why was that even an issue to begin with? It's so annoying. Okay. Hold on. Anyway, where was that chatter? What was I looking at with that chatter? Oh, what I was going to say is chatter came in hot, initially making it seem as though he just simply had a problem or that I made a big issue about this stuff, only to then turn around and be like, no, it's just medication. At least RFK doesn't steal from pharmaceutical companies. Like, why? I don't understand. I don't understand how people get to this place in their minds. Dominate the narrative. At least RFK doesn't steal from pharmaceutical companies. RFK hasn't stole from pharmaceutical companies to fund his campaign, unlike geriatric Bernie. Yeah. Bernie Sanders stealing from pharmaceutical companies to fund his campaign. Again, another chatter that is duped by Ian Miles Chong. Bernie Sanders has never received PAC money. As a matter of fact, the people that work at pharmaceutical companies, like the fucking janitor, has donated to his campaign in small dollar donations. The combination of those small dollar donations is what you saw on an Ian Miles Chong post, Ian Miles wrong post, and you turned around and thought, oh, we got him, boys. Bernie's making money off the pharmaceutical industry. Yeah, I love that. What? What is happening to my goddamn internet, dude? What is this? What the fuck is this? I can't. This is my issue, right? This is a me problem. This is not like a. I've never actually seen this before. Control Shift R. Try restarting browser. I did that already. Yeah, Control Shift R worked, which is crazy. Everything is garbanzo, dude. Everything is garbage. Everything is broken. Right-wing populists have completely lost the plot as to who the enemy is. Elizabeth Warren does not take any money from healthcare or any lobbyists or CEOs. Look at the average donation. CEOs don't give $30 increments. Use your brains, people. If 10,000 nurses give you small contributions, that doesn't mean you're in the pocket of big pharma. Look.
I don't know if you saw this, but Elizabeth Warren got confronted, and it's on Twitter this morning. She got confronted about the amount of money that she's received from pharmaceutical drug companies. She said she's never received any money from pharmaceutical drug companies and never received any monies from any PACs. And then, of course, underneath it, community.
I'm glad you're covering this very niche stuff. It's not even niche. The problem is it's not niche, okay? It's actually out in the open. A lot of people think this way now. And a lot of people get their notes off of Twitter. It is no longer a niche, like conspiratorial minded attitude that people have. Okay? Fuck Joe Rogan. All right, well, we have a pro RFK guy who thinks Bernie is taking money from pharmaceutical corporations, but also doesn't like Joe Rogan for some reason. I guess you like the holistic medicine aspect of Joe Rogan, but like maybe not that he's a Ron DeSantis supporter. I don't know.
Note strikes again. And of course, she received millions.
Yeah.
She's a fucking liar.
Well, and it's an arms race. How can pharma cloak the money that it's giving so that there's plausible deniability at the point that Elizabeth Warren is confronted or Bernie Sanders?
Bernie Sanders was hilarious.
Only 1.5 billion. Only 1.5 million out of 200 million.
Like, this guy went from being a Bernie Glazer, a Bernie bro, to shitting on Bernard Sanders. How did this happen? Like, how does your brain break in this direction, in this severe of a fashion? I do not understand. Truly.
Only 1.5.
Yep, that's what I saw as well.
Trying to say nothing. Only the hardworking people in this country giving money.
Well, I don't think...
I don't know if you saw...
Yeah, RFK Jr., Elizabeth Warren called this out, and I gave her credit for this as well at the time, but RFK Jr. is also making money off of pharmaceuticals. He literally has a hotline where he directs clients to lawyers and picks up a fee for directing clients to vaccine injury lawyers and shit. Okay? People figure out ways to grift, chatters. Sometimes in ways that you cannot comprehend. Wait, hold on. I have to fix everything now. All right. Weinstein and his brother has been completely laughed out of academia. Rogan literally robs people of the opportunity to learn. I know. But the Weinstein bros have only one method of making money now, and that is suckling on Joe Rogan's incredibly long nipples. Are you ever wrong and admit to it? Yes and yes. Very famously so, even though there is no benefit to admitting that you're wrong ever. It's not even remotely beneficial, and people yell at you all the time regardless. The most famous instance of me being wrong about Vladimir Putin will never invade Ukraine. That's far too insane for him to do. It would be devastating. Anyway, I think I know what your problem is. Is this the same computer that you brought to Japan? No, chatter. This is my normal desktop. Yes, the analysis was sound. The prediction was off. Sometimes your insults are a bit graphic for my brain. Fair. Another one I think is something I've thought about a lot. It's the Ukraine stuff and my initial reaction to ReactGate. I corrected you over something tiny linguistically, but it made a difference, and you immediately backtrack. Respect where respect is due. 3 years of wrong prediction, though? What do you mean? I think that Ukrainian war is 3 years. What do you mean? I'm confused by this. The people who think this about you are clip watchers? Yeah. Yeah, Bernie's healthcare donors are people that work in the healthcare sector and people that work in medicine, people that work in the pharmaceutical companies, all the way down to like when you're donating to a political campaign, you say where you work, you write your place of business, like you write your employer, okay, and then it gets logged as being from that sector. You were wrong about co-hosting a podcast with a certain someone, but that's more of a hindsight 2020 kind of thing. Yeah, no, that's not. Anyway, there's a lot of chatter about donations to Bernie Sanders' 2020 presidential campaign from the pharmaceutical industry. To be clear, our data on industry giving rolls up contributions from individuals who work in that industry and PACs. Corporations cannot donate to campaigns. So that's the problem. People see that and they think they understand the situation, and they think that Kaya place. No. Good. Okay. Well, I'm glad I have it. Did you miss your Zin? No, I was able to make it work. The top blue check reply doesn't even know how political donos work. How do we know when pharma employees donate? Oh my God, dude. I'm losing it. Like, so much of American political discourse revolves around, I don't know a certain thing, and now I'm going to make it your problem. Like, that's just what this is. I don't know how something works, and it's actually your fault. And I'm not going to search. I'm not going to learn. I'm not invested in the truth at all. And it's your issue now. It's your fault now. Not, I think you are wrong. I think you were wrong about the streamers work harder socially than other professions. I get what you were trying to say, but try being in the service industry, big dog. I know your job is hard, but there are a lot of benefits that others don't get with the same amount of burnout. I need you to understand that, and I think you do, and you pulled back and self-corrected a little bit. I think that was big of you. Wait, what? No. You can't say I think you're wrong and then literally then repeat what I said. No, that doesn't count. Okay? What the hell? See, there are instances where I think I say things incorrectly. Okay? But then there are also people that literally clip me entirely out of context, and then Brigade and then Keemstar and the like jump on it. It's like coming in here and being like, you're wrong, big dog. I know you've been a massive advocate for for-profit healthcare, but honestly, I'm glad that you're finally coming to the conclusion that like profit should not be in the healthcare sector. Like that's ridiculous. I mean, about how your job is harder. I know, and I never took you as that. Oh my God. I think the easiest way to understand my position on this is that I don't work any other job. This is what I do. I have the freedom to be able to go and work another job. If I thought it was easier to do that job, I would do that job. Okay? That's it. Anyway. Is this the struggle session right now where Chowder's bringing up every one of your indiscretions and clips they saw out of context now? I know. Man, you got people talking shit then apologizing to themselves for you so you don't have to do shit, Lamau? What do you mean? Anyway. Have you seen the news on the White House Faith Office? No, I have not. I know you don't do it for the money, but I'm wondering if you would stop if you didn't get as much money as you do now. I mean, for many years before I got to this position, I wasn't making much money and I still was doing it with no clear indication that I would ever be this successful. I never assumed that I would get to this level of success on this platform, and I still did it. Also, even right now, I could just quit, but I don't. And the reason why I don't, so depressing. Chuck Schumer ripped by Democrats for Musk protest. Okay, wait, why is everything in italics now? What is going on with my fucking computer, dude?
Senator Sanders joins us now. You talk about an oligarchy running the White House. You have billionaires.
How did everything turn into italics? Even the captions. I don't know what's going on, but my shit is fucked up. Bro, even my captions are leaning right, dude. I'm on the right side of my camera. Captions are leaning right. I don't know what the hell is going on.
Now currying favor with the new administration, donating to the presidential library, the inauguration, making deals with family members of the Trump family. How far are we from a kleptocracy?
Well, let's start with oligarchy, and I think we are there. You know, when you see three of the richest people in this country, the three richest, standing behind the president when he gets inaugurated, when you see Elon Musk, who contributed over $200 million, 270, to get Trump elected, and then becomes in many ways the most important appointee of the Trump administration, and when you see since Trump's inauguration,
Software dev computer guy, what the hell did you do to your computer? I've never seen this after 12 years. I've never experienced this issue before. And I don't think a single chatter has ever experienced this issue before as well. Like all of it. What Musk is doing is illegal. The title is in italics. Everything is in italics. I don't know what it is, but I don't really care. Whatever.
Elon Musk becoming $150 billion
Twitter is not
richer in 2.5 weeks. $150 billion richer. You tell me whether or not we are living in an oligarchy. And I think the function of government under Trump, under Elon Musk, will not be to serve ordinary people, but to make the very richest people in this country even richer.
There are probably some people watching who think, oh, Elon Musk, smart guy, he's got these 19, 20-something-year-old tech wizards going into government and looking for waste and abuse, and what's wrong with that? What is wrong with what is going on?
Nothing wrong with looking for waste and the kinds of bureaucracy that exist. I think we can do a whole lot to get rid of the waste, the fraud, the excessive bureaucracy that exists in government, especially, by the way, in the Defense Department.
You did the same interview. You got the same amount of motion as Anderson Cooper, my goat. I did it for 30 minutes. Anderson only gets Bernie for 7.
What is wrong right now is one simple reality. What Musk is doing is illegal and unconstitutional. You cannot go into an agency like USAID and essentially fire everybody and get rid of that agency. You cannot do that's an agency that was created by Congress. They want to get rid of USAID? Fine. Come to the Congress, make your case. You can't do it unilaterally. You cannot withhold U.S. funds that were appropriated for Medicaid, for community health centers, for Head Start. You cannot put a freeze on that. That money was appropriated by the Congress. And as I hope every fourth grader in America knows, Congress holds the purse strings. And what I also worry about is not just the movement toward oligarchy, but this growing trend.
When you balling with Bernie, I'll figure it out soon.
I hope the American people are seeing clearly that we had the January 6th rioters, the people who were trying to, in a sense, overthrow an election, undermine democracy, contributed to the injuring of 170 Capitol Hill police officers. They are pardoned. And then the FBI agents who worked hard to make the case, doing what they are told, they are now being investigated. What is the future of the FBI? Is the criteria to be an FBI agent in the future one who swears allegiance to Donald Trump or one who upholds the Constitution and the rule of law? And I'll tell you something else in terms of authoritarianism, Anderson, and this is something that you and other people in the media should pay attention to. ABC paid a fine to Donald Trump, presumably for saying something that he didn't like. Meta, owned by Zuckerberg, paid a $25 million fine to Trump. Right now, Paramount, that owns CBS, is contemplating reaching a settlement with Trump. He has sued the Des Moines Register. The FCC is now investigating PBS and NPR. That is a movement toward authoritarianism when you go after and intimidate an independent media. So you add it all together, we're moving toward an oligarchy, we're moving toward authoritarianism, and in terms of kleptocracy, well, what can I say? Before he got inaugurated, Trump and his wife issued coins. They made billions of dollars. Anybody can give to the president, in a sense, by buying those coins. So the American people are going to stand up and fight back, or else we're going to be in real trouble.
We had a historian, Doris Kearns-Goodwin, on last week who talked about Andrew Jackson corrupting essentially government employees, giving out favors to people who curried favor with him. He gave them civil service jobs. And it took generations in America to correct that. And it took Teddy Roosevelt being the civil service commissioner for 6 years to really root that out and get a civil service that served the American people and not whoever was in power. The damage being done potentially, people think, oh, well, maybe it's just going to be 4 years. The damage can be for generations.
Right. I mean, it goes without saying that I think the overwhelming majority of Americans want a strong, efficient, independent civil service. We can make improvements. I am not here to tell you that we don't have a bureaucracy, that we don't have waste. We do. We got to work on that. But you don't get rid of thousands and thousands of dedicated public servants and replace them with people who are simply loyal to Donald Trump. That's not the way our democracy is supposed to work.
Let me just quickly ask you on Gaza. When you heard the President of the United States talking about turning the Gaza Strip, getting 2 million Palestinians out, as anybody who has read history or the region or been watching for the last year, Did you think this was a joke at first? I mean, can you is
Almost. Look, one could say that, Anderson. On the other hand, given the suffering that the Palestinian people have gone through under Netanyahu's brutal war, which has killed at least 45,000, injured over 100,000, mostly women and children, the idea that the President of the United States is going to say to these people, oh, by the way, you're going to have to leave the place where you live because we are going to build something equivalent to the French Riviera.
Well, also the thugs of Hamas are still there. I mean, it's not as if they have gone.
Yeah, to say, but even that's right. So, and as you just discussed a moment ago, how do you do that? Are American troops involved? How much money is being spent? But the idea of telling 2.2 million people who live in an area, you're gone, we're going to build a French Riviera here so my billionaire friends can enjoy the beautiful view. It is, to say the least, preposterous. It ain't going to happen.
To the fallout from President Trump saying that the U.S. would
every aspect of this admin is so fucked. It's just, I think it's Trump playing hardball as always. What Trump says and what Trump will do are two entirely separate things. That doesn't stop the fact that he is actively normalizing and genuinely wants to do this, by the way. Like, make no mistake, I think Trump, if given the opportunity, would love to do this. Will he be able to do it? I don't know. Not chat being pro-Hamas. Crazy. Brother, it is not October 7 any longer. I don't know what you are talking about here, okay? Like, if you can't comprehend why people would resist against the Israeli apartheid after 16 months of genocide, as the American government that allowed Israel to do this by offering the munitions to do it, while also simultaneously talking currently about the fact that there will be mass ethnic cleansing, a mass population transfer scheme on this existing territory. Like, and you're still like, well, what about Hamas? You're out of your fucking mind, dude. Get a new point, please. Hamas is but a name, okay? That's it. That's all it is. It's an expression. It's an expression of Palestinian emancipation. That's it. That's what it is. If it's no longer Hamas, it's something else, okay? It's going to be something else. And in the past, it was something different than Hamas. It was the PLO. Something that I have maintained that was written about on Fox News as well was the fact that Hamas is the lesser of two evils between Hamas and Israel. It's just the truth. Yeah, I know I covered this earlier, that Egyptian diplomats came out and said Biden said the exact same thing. Biden quietly made the exact same proposals that they refused to abide by in terms of mass ethnic transfer, which is the least shocking revelation of all time. The major difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, at least on this issue, is that Donald Trump says the quiet part out loud. But American foreign policy, as I've stated, is uniparty. Yeah, 972 Magazine's new coverage also shows that after using bunker buster bombs, they gassed the tunnels and most likely killed hostages in the process. I remember one of the family members in Israel of one of the hostages that was killed was actually demanding an additional investigation, a third-party investigation into how one of the hostages had died. And her suspicion, if I recall correctly, was that he was gassed. Now, 972 Magazine's investigations show that there is a very high likelihood that that is what happened. From 1 year ago, a hostage mother says toxic gas from Israeli bombs killed her son. Is she right? This is from January 31st, 2024. From an entire year ago.
Take over Gaza. Our chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce tracking this for us, also from the White House. Mary, good morning.
Whit, good morning. Well, after the president declared that the U.S. would take over Gaza and that the Palestinian people would be permanently...
Why are you even making what comparison? What comparison did I make? I didn't make a comparison. I just told you what happened. I don't even know what you're talking about. You knew what you were insinuating? Are you talking about making a Holocaust comparison? If that's what you're thinking that I'm insinuating? In this circumstance, I was not. Having said that, yes, I have voluntarily made comparisons to Israel and Nazi Germany numerous times over. You must be new here if you think I'm afraid of making such comparisons. Zionism is a fascist movement very similar in its expression of violence to the Nazi movement. Okay? We're talking about Israel using chemical weapons and potentially gas on Israeli citizens that are hostages. That is just what is reported on in the news. It seems like you have issues with what Israel is doing. Or maybe you have issues when someone talks about what Israel is doing. If you consider what Israel is doing, which is genocide, to be very different than what the Nazi Germany did, I don't know what to tell you. They also did a genocide. I think you have an issue with just what the truth is. It's not that you have an issue with me. It's that you have an issue with the truth. That's it. You can say crazy about it all day, every day, but it won't change the truth.
Relocated. The White House this morning is struggling to explain what this plan would look like, how this would actually work. Now, this proposal has sparked international outrage, and now some administration officials are seeming to dial back the president's language. The president said bluntly that it was his intention to remove Palestinians from Gaza permanently. But here at the White House, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt now says the relocation would be temporary to allow Gaza to rebuild, though the administration estimates that could take 10 to 15 years. And she insisted the U.S. would not be paying for that rebuilding. And while the president initially said he was willing to use the U.S. military if necessary, when I asked Leavitt whether American troops would forcibly remove Palestinians or be fighting on the ground in Gaza, she said the president has not committed to troops in the region. And in fact, just now, the president posting that, quote, no soldiers by the U.S. would be needed, saying stability for the region would reign. Now, the White House was also pressed on the president's decades of criticism of U.S. entanglements and conflicts abroad. But the White House says that the U.S. would not be entangled in the Middle East through this plan, even though the president said, quote, the U.S.
Yeah, it's just weird because we are already entangled in it. Because without our support, without our bombs and munitions, for example, Israel wouldn't be able to destroy as many parts of Gaza as they have. So to say that we are not entangled in this is ridiculous. Man falsely poses as an immigration agent and traps Latino man in a car. I hope he goes to jail. Doesn't Israel have their own arsenal, though? Yes. It's simply not enough to maintain a permanent bombing campaign that reduces the entirety of the Gaza Strip to rubble.
Would own Gaza and would be responsible for dismantling all of the unexploded bombs and weapons there. George.
So we're going to own Gaza, even though we're not going to send any money, we're not going to send troops, and all of the other Arab nations said they're not prepared to take Palestinians.
That is exactly where we stand right now. The president is making this sweeping outline, calling for this plan without explaining how he is going to pull this.
I'm not trying to call you all, I promise. But I thought of this from a philosophical position. I feel both have merit. Do you feel in your position that it is more important to call out the tractor talking points and demonstrate how to dismantle them, or to clarify positions for folks who are in the same headspace as you promote? It's both. I do both. Sometimes I do more of the latter. Other times I do more of the former. It's important to do both.
Off. They are not committing to putting troops on the ground. They are not committing to spending any money, and they still have not explained by what authority the president would be able to take over this sovereign territory. George.
Mary Bruce, thanks very much.
At the top of the program, we laid out the administration's rewriting of what the...
Yeah. The reason why I talked about the previous administration's actions earlier when talking about Gaza and how the Trump administration's actions are going to differ from like the previous one was because of this. Because everyone in the United States of America always likes to revert the conversation back to an appropriate vector of anger, drama. Okay? For YouTube slop tubers, that can be drama surrounding content creators. And for obviously liberals who have a vested interest in defending the failure of a candidate and a failure of a campaign that just took place that lost to Donald Trump the second time around, their goal is to obviously deflect blame away from the Democratic Party's ineptitude and away from the campaign specifically, back to a target that everyone can get mad about. Now, it can be the third-party voters or the Bernie bros, or in this circumstance, the radical Muslims in Dearborn, okay? It is their fault that Kamala Harris lost. Very frustrating process, considering that they did play a role in Kamala Harris's defeat, especially in Michigan. They played a very important role, but that issue is not up to the voters. That responsibility does not fall on the voters. Votes are not earned. We exist in a theoretical democracy where votes are supposed to be, votes are not entitled for. They're supposed to be earned. Sorry. Okay? That's the foundational principle of a democratic administration, a democratic form of governance, is that your elected representatives are supposed to represent you. Okay? And in that process, voters are going to extract concessions. But for some reason, people love blaming voters in general and never the campaign. People also love blaming third-party voters specifically. Ironically enough, third-party voters still could not make up for the margin of defeat in many of the states that Kamala Harris lost. So why do Democrats still make this point? Well, because, again, there's a little bit of that the truth doesn't matter attitude on the liberal side of the spectrum as well. This is a very dangerous game to play. This is a major issue for me. The fact that on the right, we've just gone into full tilt denialism and desperately rushing towards alternative reasons that are not born out of the data and just simply hysterical. And liberals play a little bit of that as well on their end. Not good. Okay?
The president said last night about taking over Gaza and remaking it as a Riviera of the Middle East, his words. Regardless of what the people around him say he said it all on camera, and millions of people saw it, including Arab Americans, many of whom voted for him. More from CNN's Jason Carroll now in Dearborn, Michigan.
Days before the last presidential election, Donald Trump was the invited guest at the Great Commoner restaurant in Dearborn, Michigan. Albert Abbas says he extended that invitation, a decision he is now reflecting on, given all that has happened in the last 24 hours.
Many in the community are at a loss for words. Last night was a very rough night for most of us.
Abbas is Arab American and one of a number of Democrats who voted for Trump. Abbas says he hoped Trump would do more than President Joe Biden did to help Palestinians suffering in Gaza.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip.
But after Trump said Palestinians should leave Gaza so it can be redeveloped, Abbas says not only does he feel betrayed, he's hearing from a number of people angered over his past support of Trump.
People were really, really frustrated.
What's so insane to me is that the Democratic Party saw a 112% swing in this constituency to a guy who set the stage for October 7 to happen and to a guy who ran on doing the Muslim ban. Okay? Think about how unimaginably bad you dropped that fucking ball. Okay? We say fell for it again award for many situations. This is one of the few instances where the Democrats basically pushed actively voters from this constituency directly to Donald Trump. Yeah, Donald Trump lied. No shit. I repeated this over and over and over again throughout the campaign, where I said Donald Trump got $100 million from Miriam Adelson. $100 million. If you think that he is going to be good for the Palestinians, you're wrong. As a matter of fact, the reason why he is going to be most likely worse for the Palestinians is because of their ambitions in the West Bank. Because American foreign policy is only uniparty, but it always tacks further to the right when Republicans are in charge. So they increase the brutality. Okay? I mentioned this time and time again. On numerous occasions. But when one party is effectively controlling the pain and death and destruction as the administration in charge and actively undermining this constituency by basically saying, we don't want you, we don't need you, we can win without you to prove a point. Okay? And the other party at least has the, I guess, audacity or the decency to lie. Yeah, the voters are going to understandably go with the party that's lying to them, with the hopes that that party that's lying to them is maybe telling the truth. Okay? That's it. This to me is not only a clear indication of the moral ineptitude, the immorality of the Democratic Party, but it also is a major indication of the awful ways in which the Democrats campaigned. If you lose to the Muslim ban guy, if you lose the Muslim vote to the Muslim ban guy, and you don't go back to the drawing board and go, how do we fuck up so hard? You want to lose. That's it. It's crazy. You will never understand the desperation that people have when they're seeing their family members be slaughtered on television, when they try to talk to them, and they're being blown to bits by American bombs that they paid for with their taxes. That's just something you will never be able to comprehend. By an administration that you voted for. That's another thing that you have to remember. By an administration that you voted for. And because you can't comprehend that feeling, because you will never be able to understand it, you can be callous in this moment. That's it. Don't do this. And I maintain this position as someone who also said that Donald Trump is most likely going to be worse than the administration prior. Even after the ceasefire negotiation was pushed for by Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, I maintain this position that they are most likely gearing up for permanent annexation of the West Bank. But you have to remember that you have to remember where this pain and where this hurt was coming from and who was responsible for it. The Democratic Party actively threw away the easiest gimme of all time. Kamala Harris actively ran towards Biden instead of running away from Biden. Not on just Gaza. Gaza is one issue. It's a significant one, but it's one issue. What is important about Gaza is that it demonstrates a couple things. Okay? It is a microcosm of the problem at the heart of the Democratic Party, which is their inability to listen to the actual voters, no matter how hard, no matter how loud those voters are yelling. Their inability to do the bidding of voters and doing everything they can to defend their benefactors, their corporate donors, their party boosters. Okay? This is it. They were willing and did throw away an election. They threw away an election when all signs and all data readily available showed that changing the trajectory and pushing for a ceasefire actively would most likely have seen at least a 6-point swing in some of the key states. Democrats did nothing because Trump was worse, and Trump won because Democrats did nothing. Yeah. It's that simple. A Harris campaign organizer says senior officials ordered them to erase voters who asked about Gaza, marking emails as no response so they'd be removed from outreach. No engagement, no persuasion, just ignored. The only clowns are the ones who decided to abdicate on this. We also didn't create a new category for Gaza response out of fear that that category would be leaked. Instead, we were told to mark them up as no response. The organizer said, faulting top Harris campaign leaders for failing to address the issue. The only clowns out there are those who were in senior leadership and decided to abdicate on this issue, who silenced the Palestinian speaker of the DNC, who told us to ignore it every time a voter asked us about Gaza. Like, this is a massive failure. Writing this off is throwing away tens of millions of dollars of work. Okay? Straight up. It's akin to lighting $10 million on fire. You understand? When someone goes and knocks on a door and has a direct back and forth, or someone calls someone, a voter, a potential voter, and has this back and forth, and they mark that as like, oh, unresponsive, throw it away, you're literally throwing data away. And you're doing that because you're afraid that if that data leaks, everyone will know the sinister truth, that you are avoiding this issue like the fucking plague because you have donors up your asshole. Okay? That was the one aspect of the conversation that I had leading up to the election with the Pod Johns, where John Favreau basically told me in Michigan that they're getting a lot of calls from Jewish voters who are worried about Israel's, who are worried about the Democratic Party dropping Israel and defending Palestinians. I don't think that was real. I think he felt like he was pushed into a corner because I had actual data, and he just kind of said that. I maintain the position. Look, I have no love lost between me and the Pod Johns, but I think he basically came up with that on the spot. Okay, when we were having that conversation. Because there is not a single piece of evidence that I've seen, and by the way, in the aftermath of the election, this demonstrably was a failure regardless, but there's not a single piece of evidence that I've seen so far, including directly polling American Jews and their opinion on Israel, that said that Israel was the primary issue for them. The only people that Israel is a primary issue for are people that are already voting for the Republican Party. They voted for the Republican Party, and they're going to continue voting for the Republican Party. That's it. She sucked, but are you saying that people who didn't vote were right? It's a two-party system? No, I'm saying that people don't vote on harm reduction narratives. This has been a demonstrable failure now twice around, okay? At a certain point, you can't hope that the educated electorate is going to come out and respond to harm reduction narratives. That is not a way to launch successful campaigns. It has not worked. Ironically enough, in this circumstance, it's not like Kamala Harris was even advocating for harm reduction. On other aspects, maybe, but the harm reduction was packaged in a way where the Democrats were admitting that they were wrong and hypocritical, like on the issue of the border. Democrats were advocating for a right-wing border bill that Republicans wrote that was basically Trump's agenda from 2020 that they successfully defeated on the issue of immigration. And that basically was an admission that they were wrong on immigration. Why the fuck would anybody vote for you then? On the other hand, yeah, Trump wants to do mass deportations. Is that worse? Of course it is. Trump wanted to do mass deportations. Kamala Harris advocated for Donald Trump's policy from 2020. Which is worse? Of course, mass deportation is worse. But in the eyes of the voters, they're not going to look at that and go, well, this is harm reduction. They're going to look at that and go, you said the border wall was racist for 8 years. You called me a Nazi. Now you want to build the border wall? Turns out your fucking ineptitude is the reason why we have a border crisis to begin with. And now you're admitting that. Do you understand? That's it. You can't win elections like this. So I don't know why there are chatters in here. Okay, I don't understand why there are chatters in here who unironically, don't say admitting it's not true. I know, but it looks like they're admitting to fault. That's the point. I don't think it's correct, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the truth is. We're talking about how people vote. We're talking about how people respond to certain messaging. Do you understand? And look, there are plenty in this community, Michael from Pennsylvania, myself, we saw this from a mile away. I talked about how dangerous a gamble this was for Kamala Harris, running around with Liz Cheney over and over again, thinking that she's going to be able to carve out a constituency of white suburban moms that are going to carry her to the electoral victory. It was a failure. She drove away the base. Respond to certain messaging. You mean how you don't respond to genuine critiques? I hope the chatters can redirect this one lost chatter to a video where I have addressed 1 million times over the same exact false smears and clips out of context. Not to say that you actually care about the truth. I suspect you don't, because if you did, you could investigate on your own. Are you a man or a bot? Are you a man but a mere animal? That is the question you must ask yourself on this wonderful day. If you are a man that has the capability of independent thought, you should investigate on your own and go directly to the source material and try to figure out if things were clipped in 15-second increments, and maybe look at the longer clips on each individual issue that was addressed a million times over. I myself have talked about these points of view over and over again, these bad faith smears that I have received for the past 16 months because of my advocacy for Palestinians. There's a video out there on my YouTube page that you can watch called Ethan v. Hasan Piker, or Ethan Klein versus Hasan Explained, from 3 months ago, where I address a lot of the videos that Ethan put in his 1 hour and 40-minute nuke. If you're going to say the context is wrong and don't actually say that it was out of context, how about you actually explain the context? I have. You're demonstrating that you don't care. Here, I'll give you a quick example. This is just one. What did I do last time to fix my Twitter? It was broken again. Wait, okay. What is happening? Let me turn off my... Let me turn it off and turn it on again. Ay, ay, ay. Let's see if it works now. Cute ass dog in the background. She's sleeping. She's snoring. Just give up on political commentary and become a cam model at this point, bro. One, thank you for saying I have what it takes to be a cam model. And two, why would I do that? Here, Chatter was asking for how certain things are clipped out of context. Here, this is a great example. Inbred fucking douchebags in the background.
Like, these are just dudes standing back there.
Nation entirely comprised of messy.
And this is an ongoing like joke with this community. These are just fucking benign dudes. Just, I don't know what the fuck they're doing. It looks like they're doing charity or something. It looks like they've got water or box.
They're doing charity. Remember, by the way, this is a video that he quote unquote researched for months.
Or something, like they're helping, and he's going, "Oh, look at these inbred fucks." It's like, bro, who are you? What are you? Who are you? Like, how dare you?
Guys, the Israeli police is investigating the attack on the Gaza aid convoy.
Israeli security forces are paid to stop this happening. They either could not or would not, but clearly did not prevent Israeli settlers attacking an aid convoy yesterday. From the West Bank, bound for Gaza, where, say aid agencies, hundreds of thousands of civilians face famine.
But during the unloading and loading, settlers attacked these trucks, destroying the products and burning them in a systematic act of sabotage.
A continuation of images seen yesterday as settlers destroyed food at the same crossing point.
So, does that make sense? Do you understand now? Every, and I mean every single clip that he used, every single one is exactly like this. Coming from a place where I'm afraid to say the person making this content nuke is not necessarily knowledgeable on the matter and simply wanted to shit sling. And I think to a certain degree, especially in his own community, it did work. It presented him as someone who was genuinely wronged, right? By a radical who scared him. A radical who lied to him. When in fact, I never hid my political perspective. We had a political podcast. Anyway, So I just want, and I mean this in all sincerity, I want him to get better. Like, yes, I definitely have been in my feelings about this sort of thing, but who wouldn't be? This is coming after, 6-7 months of endless begging for deplatforming, actively collaborating with the likes of Dan Saltman and Sex Pestany. But having said that, I don't want Ethan to be sad. I want him to have a healthy, normal stream. I just want him to leave me alone for the most part. I don't think he will, but I think it's just like things are not going to get better for him. And this is his own undoing. And I don't think he'll be able to I think he's just going to keep increasing and upping the ante and saying more and more unhinged things because he's not thinking clearly in this process. And any kind of statement I make about this, okay, any kind of statement I make about this is not going to reach him in a positive way. From what I understand, he's saying his next nuke that he's going to make another one is going to be spiteful, as though the first one wasn't. And yeah, I don't know if he recognizes that this is his own undoing. But yeah. Where's that one chatter who asked that question? I assume he fucked off immediately after saying, immediately after coming in and saying, like, this is, nah, he said some other stupid shit. I mean, that's clearly not the messaging of the video. If you're saying his claim is you scared him, do you have any media literacy whatsoever? Do you think I need media literacy to understand a YouTube drama slop video? Like, what are you talking about? You're making it seem like this is a formative work. It's very clear what the intention of the video is. And also, notice how you move the needle, you move the goalpost. I said that it's out of context. You demanded I describe to you what the context is, and you immediately moved on. And you're like, well, that's not the major point of the video. At a certain point, you have to understand, like, okay, well, if this is incorrect, do you like being incorrect? I guess you do. I guess you don't care. I myself, I don't like being incorrect. Almost like this chatter wasn't approaching you in good faith. Yeah, I know. How do you know he collaborated with Sex Pestany? Ethan claims not to know him. He used untitled, unlisted videos from DGG Orbiter accounts that were titled HasnAbi. And also, Dan Saltman admitted that he was emailing back and forth with Ethan. Also, he does know who Destiny is. What are you talking about? I've had conversations with him about Destiny before. He has had conversations with me about Destiny before. He knows exactly who the fuck Destiny is. That's crazy. People forget. That's when you used to call him a R word all the time. You know, back when Ethan was my ally. Yeah. He also used like Photoshop memes that DDGers made. For the Frogan memes. To them, the reality is to them, Ethan is nothing. Like Ethan is just a weapon. You know what I mean? And I don't think he realizes that. And I think the more he participates in this stuff, the more people look at it and go, okay, well, this is not for me. This is what I'm talking about when I say, like, I wish for his own sake he would stop doing this. But yeah. He won't stop. He wants to take the mantle of D. Did you move? It feels weird in this angle? No. This is something that I've warned other hate slop tubers about in the past. If your entire content revolves around like toxicity and bad faith, flipped out of context shit about a content creator that has a, you know, fairly sizable audience of haters, and if your job is to simply make videos like that, you can only tap that vein so much until it runs dry. And then the community that you've cultivated turns into one that is only seeking that out, and they'll move on. And that's it. Like, we had a lot of crossover audience members, and I think he wants to retain the remainder in an effort to be like, this is why I've been doing this. Here's why it's justifiable. And since the quote unquote content nuke didn't work, now he's just gonna go and you know, engage in petty shit, slander. And there's already enough haters of mine out there that they'll entertain anything. In the same vein as the way, you know, Trump supporters will agree to whatever kind of idiotic thing that Ian Miles Wrong is posting. That's it. It's just like making that kind of taking the initiative and making that kind of content is not for someone who has any sort of kindness in their heart. And even if you kill that kindness in your heart, you still won't be able to maintain it because it's so fucking toxic. And at a certain point, people are going to be like, you're using these sorts of clips out of context. Here are the million different instances where people have used clips of you from the past. You know what I mean? Like he's a person who I thought had grown from his past behavior. The H3 subreddit is insane now, and Ethan copy strike the Snark Reddit for doing exactly what they're doing. Yeah, I saw. Sometimes it pops up on my Reddit. It's shocking how much a community can turn in like a matter of 6 months. Like it's pretty crazy. Actively. Did you just admit to having a Reddit? Yes, I go on Reddit from time to time. It is pretty crazy because that community used to hate Destiny for understandable reasons. And they used to regularly point out that Destiny's commentators, Destiny's community is like actively brigading it. And now they love it. So yeah. It truly has turned into something different. In my opinion. Fuck. God damn it. Can you hear me? What is happening? We're back. We're back. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello, hello, hello? Hello? Gitti geldi. What is happening? I'm still here. I'm still here. We can't see you? I know. I know. I don't know how to fix it. Hold on. Why does it say no signal? Oh, god damn it. Oh, today's not your day, bro? Shut up. I know. Hold on. I'm gonna fucking fix it. I don't know what to do here. Change your camera? I did. All of my cameras are broken. They're like the power went in and out. The power went in and out. So now the cameras are just like not working. And I deactivated and activated again, but it's not working at all. And I don't know how to fix it, but you can at least still see. You hold on. I'm going to fix it. It's because you moved your desk, lol. No, that's not the reason. I don't know how to fix this. I genuinely don't know. Feel free to call me if you need. Cameras might need time to boot. Might need to unplug, replug the cams in. Let me see. Hold on. Hold on. Yup. We're back. Yeah, the cameras turn off. I don't know why. But yeah, the cameras just basically turn off. That's crazy, dude. 3 seconds of fucking camera. The camera going out for 3 seconds, and 4K people are like, I'm done. Fuck this. I'm out. Your IT department's snoozing on the job, fam? No, dude. It's because, God, I don't want to get into it. Anyway, oh no, now everyone's gonna ask if I have a UPS. Yes, I do. I do have a fucking UPS. I do. I have a UPS. Check the manual for the cameras. You can probably change that. They do that in the power issue. Oh, I just don't have it working right now. Please stop. All right, let's where was I? Hold on. I'm going to pull up the video that we were. I can't believe that chatter derailed me this much. It's pretty crazy. And then he just left. It makes me sad that people come in and they're just like, I have no interest in hearing the truth whatsoever. And I'm simply here to talk shit and leave. Everyone is saying you're scared to debate Asmongold. It's true. I'm terrified. This is true. I'm legitimately worried. Legitimately scared. All right, let's get back to Arab Americans in Michigan react to President Trump.
United States, a community which helped Trump carry the critical swing state. He won 42% of the vote in Dearborn versus Vice President Harris with 36% and Jill Stein with 18%. In 2020, Biden handily carried the city with 69%. Faye Nimmer voted for Trump in 2024 out of frustration over the previous administration's support of Israel. Now, she is troubled by the president's proposal to move Palestinians out of Gaza.
I mean, it's very concerning and it's infuriating.
Personal feelings, you're infuriated, but standing by your decision for now to have voted for Trump.
Correct.
And what would move that needle for you to say, you know what, I made a mistake?
Palestine is the red line for this community.
Nimmer says she suspects Trump is bluffing and is using his proposal as some sort of negotiating tactic. That's the same sentiment shared by Amar Zar.
First, this is clearly not going to happen, right?
And real estate broker Ali Alfarajala.
A lot of people are calling me and texting me saying, hey, you know, how did your vote work out? You know, how was that third party vote?
Both were so-called protest voters. Neither supported Trump or Harris. Are there any sort of second thoughts now about having supported a third-party candidate?
Absolutely not. And I'll still do it again and again and again.
I didn't vote for Trump. So a protest vote, I don't know. I would say it was a targeted vote of conscience to say that the children of Gaza have to mean something. Their death has to mean something.
And while Arab Americans here were divided in the past, going forward, one point is uniting them: opposition to Trump's proposal to move Palestinians out of Gaza.
The community will be unified. I will tell you this. The Palestinian people would rather die and live in a demolition site than to be ethnically cleansed and being sent out of Gaza to Egypt or Jordan.
So again, Anderson, after spending some time here in the Arab American community, you really get a sense that they feel like they've been let down by both Republicans and Democrats. Certainly there's a great deal of frustration after hearing what Trump is proposing, but there's also a feeling that had Harris been elected, had it been a Harris administration, the feeling here is that Palestinians would still be suffering. Anderson?
Just Carol, thanks very much. And Dearborn with me now. Put some numbers to the story. CNN senior data reporter Harry Enton. Generally speaking, has there been much an appetite in the U.S. for to get involved in rebuilding Gaza?
No.
No, there has not been. Look, we have no new polling since last night, right? Polling works fast. It doesn't work that fast. But in the polling that we had prior, or that was taken towards the middle end of last year, what we saw was the overwhelming majority of Americans opposed the idea that the United States should take a lead role in reconstructing Gaza. You can see it right there, 57% opposed, just 37% support. And what I should note is the support was lowest among Trump's own base of Republicans. So the idea that this is going to sell among the American people at large or the Republican base, simply put, he definitely wasn't looking at the polls before he went out there and made a statement that was heard around the world because of how crazy it sounded to most people. How did Palestinians view President Trump during his first administration? Yeah, so we're talking about Americans, right? But at the end of the day, the Gaza Strip is filled with Palestinians, right? So the question is, how did Palestinians feel about Donald Trump during his first term? And the bottom line is they absolutely disapproved of his leadership. I mean, you rarely see numbers like this. Look at this. 78% during his first term disapproved of his leadership. Just 10% approved of it. And I even drilled down a little bit more because I love going into those crosstabs. And what I found was approval, or at least disapproval among Gazans, was even higher. The disapproval among Gazans was...
In my opinion, we owe it to the Palestinians to pay for rebuilding Palestine to the last penny. I agree. Except Trump doesn't want to rebuild Palestine. He wants to ethnically displace it first and then build condominiums on what is the Gaza Strip. It's the worst of both worlds.
It was even higher than it was among Palestinians overall. So simply put, this would not be a popular plan either in America or in the Palestinian territories.
We are finally putting America first. Our policy of never...
Totally. I love putting America first.
Ending war, regime change and nation building is being replaced by the clear-eyed pursuit of American interests. We do not seek nation building. We're going to end the era of nation building, a disastrous concept, a disastrous era. Why are we nation building over there? We want a nation build over here.
When President Donald Trump first entered politics nearly a decade ago, he did so with promises of putting an end to nation building and removing the U.S. from foreign entanglements in the Middle East. But now he's, of course, said that he has a new plan to redevelop the Gaza Strip. Or as his Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, put it, quote, make Gaza beautiful again. Rubio clarifying some of the details of the president's proposal yesterday.
The only thing President Trump has done very generously, in my view, is offer the United States willingness to step in, clear the debris, clean the place up.
As the Israel's defense minister readies its military for the, quote, voluntary departure, end quote, of Palestinians from Gaza, one thing that's clear, President Trump and his plan have the full support of his Israeli counterpart, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
This is the first good idea that I've heard. It's a remarkable idea. And I think it should be really pursued, examined, pursued, and done, because I think it will create a different future for everyone. He's the greatest friend that Israel has ever had in the White House.
All right, joining us now, former Chief of Staff to Benjamin Netanyahu, George Birnbaum. Sir, good morning. Thank you very much for spending some time with us today.
Good morning, Casey.
I'd like to start with the meeting itself, and especially the look on the Prime Minister's face there, as well as some reporting that he was as surprised by this as almost anyone. The New York Times wrote this, quote, it wasn't only the Americans who were scrambling after the press conference. The announcement came just as much of a surprise to Mr. Trump's Israeli visitors. Soon before they walked out for their joint news conference on Tuesday, Mr. Trump surprised Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel by telling him he planned to announce the Gaza ownership idea, according to two people briefed on their interactions. You've obviously worked closely with Netanyahu. What did you read into his reaction, and how surprised was he?
Well, I would say this. Netanyahu is a very astute follower of political chess. And we saw a few announcements prior to the prime minister's arrival that were a little strange. One was the announcement that the King of Jordan would be coming to visit the White House in a couple of weeks. And while, with all respect to the King of Jordan, I could think of 24 world leaders that the president.
Trump doesn't care about polls anymore, and why would he? He has no more elections and doesn't care about the GOP. Hitler was also an anti-war candidate, and a lot of policies were initially unpopular. No, Trump cares about popularity. You're wrong about that. I think he is, for selfish reasons, for narcissistic reasons, but reasons nonetheless, Donald Trump absolutely cares about being popular. In a very weird way, it has nothing to do with the election. I don't even think Donald Trump cared about winning the election the first time around. He just kind of lucked into it. And then the second time around, he had to do it out of desperation because he was worried about going to jail. He literally said he wanted to ban TikTok in his first term, and then now is known as the savior of TikTok. Why do you think that happened? You're such a leftist joke. Leftists don't joke, my friend. Yeah, how can you live through a decade of Donald Trump in politics and arrive at the conclusion I don't think he really cares about polling? I will say this much. Yeah, also, this dude has cuck in his name, which is kind of funny. I will say this much. I think Donald Trump, in a weird way, cares more about broad popularity and polling than like the average technocratic Democrat does. Now, having said that, are there things that he does that are deeply unpopular? Abso-frickin-lutely, right? I'll give you one great example of this. Donald Trump's reaction to the abortion ban once Roe v. Wade was overturned by his Supreme Court was very different than the way he was advocating for it beforehand. If given the opportunity, I'm fairly certain he would not have ever allowed that to happen. It's even more sinister that CNN has been talking about this nonstop for the past couple of days while they were dead silent when Israel was openly committing genocide and war crimes in Gaza. Yeah, because, you know, anti-Trump hits get clicks. Anyway, what I was saying is he cares about popularity, but he'll say deeply unpopular. I mean, deeply unpopular things, especially when there's money to be made for himself or others. He'll still try to present it as the popular option, though.
Would invite to the White House prior to the King of Jordan. We also saw the announcement of a very unique arms sale to Egypt just a day prior to the Prime Minister arriving. Of course, Egypt and Jordan being two key players in President Trump's plan. So the Prime Minister may have been surprised that the announcement came so quickly, but I believe that he probably was reading the tea leaves a little bit, and that President Trump did have something in mind by having these two very strange events occur so early into his presidency regarding the invitation of the King of Jordan as well as the arms sale to Egypt.
President Trump's Gaza plan is also upsetting some of the Arab Americans who voted for him. A number of those voters are in Dearborn, Michigan, the city with the highest percentage of Arab Americans in the U.S. They flipped to Trump in 2024, partly to protest President Biden's handling of the crisis in Gaza. Nikki Batiste asked people there how they are feeling now.
What do you think your headline will be this week?
Gazans will not leave their country.
Osama.
I think something that, yes, I hear the buzzing too, or the tinnitus noise. I think something that American leadership discounts, which is leading them to make wrong decisions when figuring out how to go forward with this Gaza situation, is how unimaginably unpopular it would be with the actual citizens in these countries. If it were up to MBS and he had full control, if he had a magic wand, he would make all of the Palestinians perish. But the reason why The official Saudi position is that it is a non-starter to do mass ethnic displacement for the Palestinians. The reason why that is the official Saudi position, despite MBS's own personal distaste for the Palestinian plight, is because even in a place like Saudi Arabia, where the numbers of the population are very limited, no matter how many weapons you give MBS, he still has a very real fear of being potentially overthrown by his own population. Okay? Same with Egypt. If MBS were to basically say, I don't really care, go ahead, we're normalizing with Israel, okay? There's a likelihood that he'd get assassinated by an immediate family member even. MBS doesn't have an election to win? Yes. In countries where they don't have American-style theoretical democracy, they do things a little differently, okay? This is one of those issues where enough members of the public would absolutely make a big enough stink and try to actively overthrow their rulers, okay? Do you understand? They just kind of killed the leaders, Lamau. Just look at Sadat in Egypt as an example. I'm saying that authoritarian countries have more to fear from genuine rebellion than democratic countries do. Because a theoretical democracy offers an opportunity, even if it's just simply the feeling of having political power in the form of your vote, it gives you a pressure valve. Authoritarian countries fear rebellion more than democratic countries do. Okay? That's where it actually happens. When there is no alternative in the eyes of the population, and the government takes action that is so disastrous, so immoral, so repugnant that they can't stand idly by, they will revolt. The only way to maintain a docile population in an authoritarian country, because there is always a limit to how long authoritarian regimes can exist. The only way to continue operating with mechanisms of control is if you're constantly abiding by the best wishes and the broader public sentiment. They underestimate the prevalence of pan-Arab sentiment in the MENA region. My grandpa was a Saudi general who tried to coup the royals with the first set of normalization in the 70s. Failed, obviously, lol. Anyway.
Thomas Sablani's Arab American newspaper has shared the stories of the country's largest Arab community for 40 years.
We have expected from Donald Trump the worst, but he is shocking us of how worse he can be.
Here in Dearborn, Michigan, the Democrat usually wins. But last November, President Trump captured more than 40% of the vote to Vice President Harris's 36%. Part of her loss was due to people not voting for either major party. Sablani says he didn't vote for anyone, but blames Democratic candidates for the rare results.
The vote for...
I will never get over how easy it would have been for Biden to actually reverse course on Gaza. One phone call, proven by Steve Witkoff, going and telling Benjamin Netanyahu to cut it out, and then Benjamin Netanyahu actually cutting it out. And yet he chose not to do so, even though there was a severe electoral consequence there. It's crazy. Remember when Joe Biden said he had a red line when Israel decided to do the complete final solution on North Gaza with the hopes of permanent annexation of North Gaza? Biden said, "Oh, I'm going to give you a red line, Jack." He gave another red line at Rafah. We all know how that turned out. But the second time was even funnier because he gave him 30 days, which was after the election. And then, of course, he did not abide by the red line. Israel never followed through, and Biden kept giving him more weapons and rewarding him all the way till the last day. His State Department ran propaganda for Israel. I did not forget. If they were truly worried about Donald Trump fucking up the situation, if they truly cared about the plight of Gazans, they could have wrapped this shit up ever before it reached Trump's desk. Okay? They handed over the reins to Donald Trump with no care or consideration for Palestinians whatsoever because they don't care. It's that simple. There's no reason to dance around this issue. And many liberals are pretty open. I was told by a prominent liberal streamer today that the Rafah red line was an example of Biden saving the day, giving people time to leave Rafah. Oh my God. This doesn't make sense even in like their own moral system. Okay, even in the world that they've invented, where Biden somehow has the power to halt this, give a stay of execution, but also can't stop the execution in its entirety. You know what I mean? It's just so crazy. It's just wrong. I don't know how else to describe it other than purely wrong, you know? I think a lot of liberals, just like a lot of Republicans do, they just want to hear someone with similar opinions, you know? They just want someone to whisper sweet nothing into their ears. They want basically to feel like they're morally righteous, even when all signs point to the fact that they're not. And they want to do that by doing the bare minimum, which is going out and voting. They think it's the most it is the most moral position. It's the highest form of political activism that one can partake in. It's the first step. Kaya. They didn't care if they lose either, as long as they can profit off campaigning against Trump. They're earning money anyway. Yeah.
For Trump was not really a vote for Trump. It's a vote against the Biden-Harris administration because they could not stop the carnage that's happening in Gaza.
If you were to give President Trump a grade for how he's handling Gaza, Middle East, what would it be?
I would say like a C+.
College senior Sarah Shaban voted for Trump. She says she gasped when she saw his remarks.
Insane to yap for hours about how much genocide Joe sucks when we can't change the past, but you can say I told you so. Meanwhile, Trump just called for ethnic cleansing and there's still shit that can be done to stop him. I mean, there's even less shit that can be done to stop Donald Trump than there was for Biden. So no, I think covering Biden's ineptitude on this issue is still fairly important to understand. You know what I mean? Like this was happening during an election, man. There's no clearer indication that America does not give a single shred of a fuck about democracy than not responding to the public pressure, major demonstrations, and only responding by telling everybody that they were Hamas supporters and that they were maybe being funded by Iran, and then also arresting 3,100 college campus demonstrators. Like, that is crazy. Those numbers are insane. They rarely got coverage in the media, but I have not forgotten, and neither should you. A couple of years from now, when you wonder how we got here, remember that the Democrats also were actively pushing to get here. My favorite thing about this whole situation as a Palestinian is that the party collectively told me and all of mine to go fuck ourselves nonstop, ran a dog shit campaign where they told us they were going to win without us, and we didn't matter, and now turn around and reveal the Klan hoods they had hidden the entire time. I mean, did they hide the Klan hoods? They literally said, we'll win without you, and also that we're going to keep killing your relatives. So one could say that they were wearing the Klan hoods all along pretty openly. Now they just try to act like they weren't wearing the Klan hoods, but now you forced me to wear the Klan hood, when in fact they were wearing it last time around too. You know? They were always wearing it. Now they're saying, now you done did it. You forced my hand. You got what you wished for. And it's like, well, you didn't. You were fine with this happening when you were in charge. And now that you're out of power, you're still fine with it. Nothing really changed. I don't know why you also want this kind of like moral abdication. You want to be freed. You want to feel like you did your very best when we saw you not doing that.
I was disappointed, but I also wasn't surprised. But I would say that I kind of find it hard to believe that he would actually implement what he's saying.
Did you regret voting for him?
A little bit, yeah. But then I thought about it, and I was like, there's a ceasefire now, and I wasn't sure there was going to be a ceasefire if Kamala was elected.
Trump became the first Republican presidential candidate to win this city in more than 2 decades.
Amichai Stein, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu to Channel 14. The Saudis can create a Palestinian state in Saudi Arabia. They have lots of land over there. I guess the Saudi normalization is not looking too good. What's your prediction? Do you think Trump will follow this at all? I mean, there's no reason to assume that Donald Trump is not going to actively try to do what he promised that he's going to do. Think about it. Think about it with respect to virtually everything. It was like, oh, Project 2025. Oh, that's not real. I don't know what that is. I don't know how to read. And then they fucking turn around. And then they turn around and they're like, okay, we're doing Project 2025 to a T. We're doing exactly the things that were in Project 2025. When they say they're going to do something, it's a matter of how much resistance will undermine their goals. That's it.
Decades. Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, who represents Dearborn and is the only Palestinian American in Congress, blasted Trump's comments and said Palestinians aren't going anywhere. Vlad?
All right, Nikki, thank you very much.
Across the country today, demonstrators took to the streets, part of a movement billed as 50 protests.
God. I don't know what's wrong with my goddamn computer, dude. It is so busted. My pooter. I am aware that my camera is really far up. Why are chat so brain dead to this reality? A solid 5,000 kids probably got blown off when Joe dropped out and Kamala ran on the Democratic ticket. He looks like the peaceful guy, even though he's not to the normies across the nation. Kamala and DNC fucked up the easiest presidential layup of all time. Didn't they find metadata from Project 2025 author on recent files from the White House? Yeah, I mean, it is a part of the same organizing unit, okay? It is the same body. There is no difference functionally between Project 2025 and the Republican Party's agenda. It is one of the same, and it always has been, and it's not new. It's not a new project. Yeah, Project 2025's co-author was just confirmed by the Senate as OMB head, was the tweet. Yeah. That's it. Here it is. Senate confirms Project 2025 architect to head the Office of Management and Budget. So that's the way I see it with respect to Donald Trump and his ambitions in Gaza. When he says he's going to do something, it's a matter of how much of a stink people can put in front of that. How much mass mobilization will occur? How much the Democrats will try to just throw procedural hurdles in the way? That's it. It's not a matter of like, will Trump do it if left on his own? The answer is yes. That's it. That's always the case.
One day. Among their grievances, the president's crackdown on illegal immigration. On that last note, tonight we have a new report showing how that can impact legal migrants with visas who keep America's farms running. CNN's David Culver reports.
Calling out to us from the back of the bus, Juan Manuel Cisneros shows us what he describes as his American dream come true.
I said, do you always carry that document?
The Netherlands about to find out when the U.S. wasn't fucking around with the Hague Invasion Act? No, you don't understand. That's why I'm saying there's obviously hurdles in front of that sort of thing. Like invading the Netherlands would be insane. But then again, Trump is crazy. But who knows? I don't think it's the case. I don't think it'll,
because if anything happens, he can pull it out and say.
It seems unlikely, but who knows?
Everyone on this bus can say the same. They're farm workers here on H-2A visas, which allow foreign workers to fill temporary or seasonal agricultural jobs.
They come here for about 8 months. All the folks on this bus who are on their lunch break are from Mexico. He says they're able to work the field, and as he sees it, it's a good solution to be able to make money and yet at the same time be here legally.
But with that visa comes grueling work.
Nobody local wants to work in agriculture harvesting crop. Nobody. These are hardworking, able-bodied men, and that's what they're doing. They're doing manual labor.
And they're doing it in a place that might surprise you.
That's east.
Yeah.
If I go far enough, I'll hit Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, you will.
You need only travel about 40 miles from here, as Roth Farms sits just on the western edge of Palm Beach County, Florida.
Certainly doesn't feel like the beaches of Palm Beach.
But it has the weather.
Which can be brutally hot and humid for those working these fields. Yet despite his need for a reliable and cost-efficient workforce, Roth says he supports President Trump's stance on immigration.
Is it going to get more difficult to get workers, you think, under President Trump and the crackdown on immigration?
No, I think it actually will get easier. We just want people to be vetted, and we want good workers that are come out here.
So the H-2A visa program may seem like a perfect solution to keep predominantly migrant workers employed on farms like this one here in Florida. But critics point out that it doesn't cover every person or every situation. Say, for example, those migrants who are fleeing violent and dangerous situations and don't have a home to go back to once the season's over. Or those who simply want to live and work with their families year-round in the U.S. And then you've got small farmers who say that the program is just way too costly and way too complicated.
For now, though, Roth sees H-2A visas as the best way to keep U.S. farms running. He hires a third-party company to handle the logistics. They recruit the workers from abroad and then place them at several different farms, including Roth's.
You hire them in Mexico, and you transport them over here. You pay all the transportation
You're
costs.
paying for that.
I pay all the transportation costs. We put them up in housing. We pay all the housing costs. The only thing we're allowed to charge them for is the cost of the food when we feed them.
So what is it like for these workers?
So here it is about 5 o'clock in the evening, and these workers have just finished their shift at Roth Farms. They're arriving back at their housing complex. Juan Manuel and the others invite us to meet them after their workday is over. ¿Cómo está?
Bien, bien.
Yeah? What do you do this time of the day? Yeah, when you get here from work.
Comedor a las 6 de la tarde, llegamos a comer.
Dinner's at 6?
Sí.
We can go with him. He's inviting us up. Well, muchas camas aquí, no? They've been working 10 hours today. They work 6, sometimes 7 days a week. They have just a few things that they need, a few changes of clothes, some snacks, and not much privacy. Juan Manuel shows us his setup. Nada de la familia.
No traje nada.
He says what he makes is about $16 an hour. So here, what you make in an hour, as he puts it, is an entire day's work in Mexico. This is his 3rd year on the visa.
HasnAbi watches Republicans destroy the government, violently deport people, and escalate Palestinian genocide. How could Democrats do this? Who lost to the Republican Party on an incredibly against an incredibly defeatable candidate? Who is having a very difficult time even actively getting together to combat some of the aspects of this administration currently. Saying that, at least in this community, a somewhat knowledgeable community on the political process, is also silly, considering that the Laken-Riley Act didn't just pass with Republican votes. The Laken-Riley Act passed with Democrats voting for it. Somewhat knowledgeable. Yeah, no. Down Diesel is the most knowledgeable. Why do Democrats act like they won the election? Like, they're so smug. They literally behave as though they won the fucking election. Maybe in the process, they got so used to... In the process, they got so used to advocating for Republican positions that it kind of feels like they won, you know? Even though they lost. On the policy front, they're getting, you know, an even more aggressive version of the agenda that the Democrats were advancing. It really doesn't make sense.
The work program. He said the money that he makes here, he's able to support his family in Mexico as well and help his mom and dad and brother and sister.
Para poder sobrevivir.
And he said that's what you need to do to survive. You can see all the workers now are gathering from all the different buildings. Most of them all work at different sites, but they come together to eat and then sleep. And then they will be back at it on the fields in about 10, 11 hours from now.
David, the farmers you talked to, do they believe that President Trump would support expanding this program, especially given his belief that foreign workers are taking American jobs?
The farmers that we spoke with, as they support President Trump, they also believe that he has to move forward with this, Anderson. They say, really, you look at the food supply in this country, and it is reliant on these workers. The visa program, though, has its limitations. They say under the Department of Labor, it is just really cumbersome, really complicated, and they say it's got to be made cheaper, particularly when you think about those smaller farmers.
David Culver, appreciate the report. Thank you.
In the final campaign stretch, Trump's focused relentlessly on immigration, and it has gotten ugly.
They're coming from 181 countries as of yesterday. right? And we're a dumping ground. We're like a
This is a re-upload. We've seen this already.
I knew that there was going to be chaos. I had no idea how bad it was going to be.
An American city suddenly thrust into a political firestorm.
The small city of Springfield,
I'm
Ohio.
eating my Japanese
Springfield,
haichu
Ohio.
for those wondering.
Maybe you remember it.
in Springfield. They're eating the dogs. The people.
John Oliver sneaky like that? Yeah. ICE has detained a middle school teacher in Miami-Dade. That the teacher attended his immigration hearing and was detained. He had been in the U.S. since his youth and had DACA. He will likely be deported. Wait, how? That this doesn't make sense. He can't even have a DUI, so how did he become a teacher if he's undocumented? DACA. Insane. This person is not undocumented. This person is literally documented. They have deferred action on childhood arrival. It's DACA. If you come into this country as a child, although our system is ruthless and cruel, the Obama administration, at the very least, created this process where, you know, you're functionally stateless at that point. It would be uniquely cruel and unusual if you were to be deported from this country that you grew up in. I was deported after DACA renewal denied during 2018. I lost my DACA because of DUIs, and I have a deportation order 25 years down the drain. In order for you to keep your DACA renewed, you literally have to abide by insanely, unnecessarily restrictive standards. Like you get a college education. You have to have a job. You can't leave the country. There are so many different rules that you need to abide by. If you get any sort of, if you get into trouble with the law, you will lose your status. You need to pay a lawyer. The fact that this person was a teacher and had the proper documentation and was detained, I think, during a court proceeding. Yeah. Or no, never mind. After they were detained by U.S. Customs Immigration Enforcement officials, the teachers union confirmed Thursday. And this is crazy. It's right there in the middle. Where does it say? Oh, they were detained at an immigration hearing. Oh my God, I kept missing it. I might be a little tired. Sorry. At an immigration hearing? That is insane. Hasan, over here in Chicago, ICE is literally going door to door. A lot have no criminal background. The only good thing is community here have been teaching them not to open the door without a warrant. Yeah, they're very mad about that. They've been getting really, really upset about that. The fact that, like, people have taught undocumented immigrants their rights. Yeah, nothing scarier than an informed public that forces these Gestapo members to at least abide by the existing laws for the time being, as those laws continue to exist. Here's another story that I wanted to cover as well. Man falsely poses immigration agent and traps Latino men in their car.
You got caught, Mo. Where you from? Mexico? You from Mexico? You're going back.
A South Carolina man has been charged with kidnapping and impersonating a police officer after officials say he detained a group.
Of course he's been arrested. You can't impersonate a federal law enforcement officer. Chatters, are you kidding me? I'm sure they'll deputize people soon. There's like a bounty system some of these states want to implement. But even in that structure, you cannot portray yourself as a court-ordered law enforcement, federal law enforcement officer.
Group of Latino men in Charleston County, South Carolina. 33-year-old Sean Michael Johnson is accused of willfully and unlawfully presenting himself as an ICE agent and detaining a vehicle of individuals from moving, according to court records.
Parky. No, you cannot drive, bro. You have not a license. You have no license. We're going back.
In addition to taking their keys, Johnson also blocked the men's car with his van, so they could not drive away, according to court documents.
You know, if you don't have a license, you cannot drive a car in the United States. No, it's over. It's over. Hey, don't be speaking that pig Latin in my country, bro. Be speaking that.
I mean, this is literally a hate crime, too, on top of everything else. Like, what are we doing here? I can't say what I think for I want to evade a ban. But, goddamn. And neither can you, chat. People tell me I'm crazy for saying re-education camps. What do you do with this guy? Re-education camp for this guy is an infinitely better solution than what most people would advocate for. You know?
That pig Latin here.
Johnson was charged with 3 counts of kidnapping and 1 count each of impersonating a law enforcement officer, petty larceny, assault, and battery, according to jail records. The men in the vehicle are not facing charges, according to local police.
Have fun.
Johnson posted a bond of over $230,000 and was released from jail, according to online court records. In a court appearance, his family pleaded with the judge.
Who fronted him the 23 grand? Oh my God, does he come from a rich family too?
Saying that their son has mental health issues and has tried to get help in the past, but he needs to continue with that therapy, according to CNN affiliate WCIV. CNN has been unable to locate an attorney for Johnson.
Wait, no, he needs 23 for 2,300. You're right, not 23,000. Right? Is it 2,300 for 230,000 or is it 23,000 for 230,000? I think it's 23K. Yeah. I got it right. No hate crime charges like this are unironic consequences of Trump's attack on everything is DEI. I know chatters. I know the bail. The bail is you don't pay the full price. You usually pay 10%. You front it to a bail bondsman. You front the 10% to a bail bondsman, and he covers the rest. And then if you actually don't attend your court date or whatever, then that's when bounty hunters come in. An insane process, but the bond is 10% of that. That's how bail works.
There's a conversation that pro-life people don't care about the baby once it's born. There are a bunch of people that believe that. But I wanted to find the people that don't believe that. We have a petition here to support universal school lunch and universal child care. We just think people should have access to this, and we thought the best place to get signatures for this petition are the March for Life. This is the place where everyone cares about life. Would you like to sign the petition?
I don't really appreciate being ambushed on camera, but I do know that there are a ton of people down there that would definitely be willing to sign.
No, I actually don't believe that schools should be providing kids lunch. I think it's up to the individual and the parents.
Universal school lunch and universal child care. And we're trying to get people to sign to show that, we care about babies when they're out of the womb. Would you like to sign the petition?
Like Vance said, I'd have to look it up.
Are you interested in signing it?
I'd rather read about it first.
Pre-K and school lunch. That's it. Nothing crazy. Nothing radical.
We're just trying to show that it's universal school lunch is bipartisan and that universal pre-K is bipartisan. Very divided country, but we want to show the public that there's some unity there.
No, you don't understand. Them babies got to pick themselves up by the bootstraps. We're here to make sure that the women are forcibly carrying pregnancies to term, nothing else. You understand me? Once the baby's out the pussy, it's time for bootstraps, baby. Dumbass baby, get a job. Learn the value of a dollar real quick. Lunch debt is a good thing.
Big hand of government gets involved. They tend to manipulate preconditions that I wouldn't.
This is how so many people sound when they try to sound smart about politics but have no fucking clue what they're saying. Including but not limited to people that come into my chat and, try to repeat talking points from someone else. When the government gets involved, there's preconditions that determine the aspect of the governance that you can't contend with, libtard. You don't understand. After all, the government's going to offer free food to children in school. That's unacceptable. What if they actually offered delicious sandwiches?
Would necessarily not support.
We have a petition for universal school lunch. We have another petition for universal child care. We wanted to show that this is a group that cares about children. Are you interested in signing the petition?
We're trying to meet the rest of our group.
Oh, you got to get to your group? Oh, okay.
I appreciate.
It's a petition for universal school lunch and universal child care.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nobody signed it yet?
No,
nobody signed it yet.
Aww. There you go. There's at least one. There's at least one guy, Goddamn. Asman go be pissed. Kids are getting a free lunch and he isn't getting free lunch, so why would he vote to sign for it? Yeah. Well, yeah, that's right. That's right, chat. Kids are getting free lunch. I'm not. I'm not in favor of that. And why should I be? Why should I be in favor of that? Really? Yeah.
You were the first person.
Why?
Congratulations. So you're the first signature of the day. Very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Donald Trump.
You think Donald Trump is going to support universal child care, universal
I
school
mean,
lunches?
listen,
Why not?
If enough of his constituency pushes for that, I feel like that could be something that's like bipartisan.
We want them to be born, and we want them to be happy in school and get.
There's the Hawaiian diff. I don't know how you're Hawaiian and also simultaneously still a Trump supporter, but I guess his heart is in the right place on this issue at least.
Fed,
Yeah.
I always had a hot meal.
Yeah, thank you for that. You can say yes or you can say no.
I'm going to say no, but I'm going to explain why. Because I don't want to be like, I don't care about kids. I believe in trying to...
Actually, children don't deserve a free lunch. Let me explain to you with logic and reason why this is a bad thing. Even though it demonstrably improves educational outcomes across the board.
make change in society and culture so where we can have that happen and it's not something the government has to provide.
So we're doing a petition for universal school lunch and universal child care.
Oh, okay.
Would you like to sign this petition?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think everyone should live abundantly, right? Like, it's not, I'm not just for like, yes, child born, and therefore, good luck, fend for yourself. No, like everyone should have a chance to live abundantly, right? To what extent is up to the law, of course.
But you know what I think the problem is?
Yeah.
The politicians that are representing the pro-life movement don't think that.
No, they don't.
No,
they
they
do
don't.
not. They don't.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for saying that. Universal school lunch to feed children and universal child care to make sure.
Funded by individual states or by the federal government?
That's a valid question. What's your personal opinion on that?
So I know in Maryland, especially during COVID, they had free lunches and all that. And I noticed, especially even myself, we abused that ability. We would go in and get multiple lunches, all that. So there would have to be a form of either
means testing.
Yeah, means testing, or whether it be like more regulation on like who gets food, how much food. But we also need to look at the economics. So like in Maryland, if you're within a certain economic bracket, you're eligible for free lunches. Because if there's kids who don't need it, why burden the taxpayer with a kid who...
Oh my God. Oh my God, everyone is a liberal, dude. Everyone is a liberal. Well, I guess it's because modern day, you look so annoyed. It's because I am, because modern day liberals are so invested in neoliberalism that they look like a conservative. They look like the conservative party of the 90s. When you hear a conservative now, it is indistinguishable from a liberal in terms of social safety nets. It's very frustrating how much like the broader outlook of the party has changed. Burden the taxpayer with children who are children who don't need to pay for school lunch is so stupid. It's especially stupid because it's called taxes. There is a way to do means testing after the fact, okay? It's called taxes, all right? If you really want to do that, you can do that. Except you don't want to do that. That's the problem. If you want rich families to pay more for oh, Jesus. Japan pays well less for education and has home cooked meals for every child.
Who can absolutely, like his family.
Mm-hmm. I know this is an old topic, but I want to say, Hasan, I respect your politics a lot and your team is really good. And please tell me if I'm wrong, but Frogan's comments on veterans were really callous and dumb and really ignores the nuance of the military-industrial complex and why people serve outside of patriotism. Frogan's comments literally factored in veterans that serve alongside members of the left in an anti-war in terms of like feeling conflicted about their service. I don't know if you heard that aspect of her commentary. Does he think millionaires are sending their kids to public school for free lunch? No, but even if they did, like, I mean, I'm sure he's at the very least pretending to act like he believes that. Nobody has heard the commentary. They've seen 15-second clips. Yeah, probably. But once again, there's a solution for it. It's called taxes. You know? Why are people asking you about Frogan? As far as I know, you aren't Frogan. I don't know. I actually don't know. I assume, well, part of the reason why people attack Frogan is because she's a mod in my community, despite the fact that she's also a content creator on her own. So that's the reason why a lot of people, every time something is clipped out of context, or every time she says something, people will immediately turn around and say like, oh, you know, you must address this take. Not just a mod, but head mod. Oh, a head mod.
Family can absolutely, take care of him.
So if I'm telling you that this is for people,
If you're asking me why Frogan gets attacked a lot, yes, this is correct. Easy target, woman, has a hijab, wears a hijab, smaller creator, isn't apologetic. Also does have a little bit of a penchant for drama, given her old Stan Twitter ways. It's a perfectly nuclear combination. But the first three factors are the most significant. Address the fact that he's in a Spider-Man suit saying kids shouldn't get free lunch. Yeah. It's funny because nobody thinks they're a villain, right? But it's especially funny when you're dressed up like a hero and you're advocating for what the villain would be advocating for in the story. It's like a comic book villain level of idiocy and cruelty to be like, yeah, poor kids should starve at school.
you would sign it.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. What?
1,000%. I mean, I actually want to be a teacher once I graduate college, and signing this means that every student, every kid, every child out there, no matter what age they are, no matter where they are financially with their family or anything like that, that we're going to be able to help them. So of course I would sign that.
Perfect. There you go. We're trying to create a movement where everyone gets fed.
How would that work?
It's you know what? There's people smarter than myself that can explain that in a more better. But you know what? I'm trying to show that there's bipartisan support for this. You know, because people say that the pro-life movement doesn't care about the child once it's born. Some people think that way, but I wanted to show that not everyone thinks that way. Okay. Would you sign this petition? Yeah, sure. Okay.
There you go.
Awesome.
I can also.
All right, very cool. We've got 4 signatures. First, to provide children with free access to health care, school lunch, child care, universal school lunch, and universal child care. And since this is the March for Life, and it's very focused on kids, I thought the best place to get signatures would be the March for Life. Would you like to sign this petition?
What kind of school lunch? Like just making sure that they have funding for that?
Yes, it is to show, I'm trying to show that there is bipartisan support for this.
Right.
And that this is something that goes beyond just like a red or blue thing, that most people agree with it.
Right.
For, you know, making sure that every child is fed in this country, that every child is educated, that mothers can go to work and not have to worry about child care. I feel like our politicians, you know, they get to divide us on these issues like abortion. A good amount of people here actually think that we should feed children. The politicians representing the pro-life movement don't think that every child should get fed. And I wanted to show that. It's a very complicated issue that I'm trying to show. Some of the people here would not sign this petition. I only have 7 signatures here. These people do exist. I also wanted to show that there are a good number of people that don't care about the child once it's out of the womb.
Doge teen, known as online as Big Ball, is now a government expert. This was actually on TV. Lol, 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 lol. Yo. It's so funny, dude. We're so goated. We're so epic. We're doing epic bass style memes. Yo, this shit is so lame. I don't understand it. Are we becoming lamer every day? I feel like the more racist this country is getting, the more reactionary this country is getting, the lamer we're getting too on top of that. Giga Dark Maga based +1 Reddit gold. The chivification of races must be studied. Ay, ay, ay. Oh. Remember when Fox News was so upset that Obama was taking selfies in the Oval Office? What is this? I mean, come on. That's just so far in the past. Our social conditioning is crazy. Like, so many people really must not know that this is actually what they're advocating for. I mean, I think people do know. They just don't care. The marketing on this kind of stuff is so bad. You know what I mean? Like, there is nothing redeemable about any of this. At least Donald Trump is like telegenic and kind of funny when he wants to be. So much of this just doesn't hit. Back in the day, Republicans still couldn't joke. Okay. So they would try to like trigger the libs and own the libs by being super racist. Now, that level of supercharged racism is like the norm. And I feel like sometimes they're trying to own the libs by being as dorky as possible. And then being like, yeah, we're funny. And the liberals don't know we're funny. Is that a way to own the libs? Maybe? I don't know. It just doesn't feel like they're putting a lot of thought or effort into the destruction of the American state, if that makes sense. Speaking of Elon Musk's epic meme team, one of the guys just got shit canned for being outed as a Nazi. And no, his name is not Elon Musk. One of the other guys. One of the guys that Elon Musk hired. Shocking absolutely zero people. Yeah, real shocker here. 25-year-old rooting around in the code of the U.S. government's payment system likes to post things like normalize Indian hate. The other ones are also racist too. It's just that this one is the one that got cooked. Was it the 19-year-old white kid or the other 19-year-old white kid? Well, I assumed that it wasn't the Indian one, considering he's talking about normalizing Indian hate. Wasn't one of them Indian? There's 2 Asian kids. The guy who got fired from Doge for racist posts can't even argue if he's not racist because he explicitly brags about being racist. Just for the record, I was racist before it was cool. Null PTR posted in July. When was it cool? Did it become cool? Here are the relevant pages from the article. Marco Elez is the first Elon Musk Doge boy to resign after the Wall Street Journal uncovered racist posts, including ones where he advocated for repealing the Civil Rights Act and backed the eugenic immigration policy. Elez previously worked at SpaceX and currently works at X. One of the funniest things you can be is like an anti-Indian racist when you're in the tech sector. Because it's like, dude, what do you just hate 80% of your coworkers? Like, the fuck? Like, dude, you worked at SpaceX and now you're working at X. Virtually everyone around you is either a first-generation immigrant or Asian. What are we doing here? That's exactly what it looks like in tech, to be honest. 25-year-old employee Marco Elez resigned Thursday after the Wall Street Journal asked the White House about his connections to the account. The deleted profile associated with Elez, who was embedded in the Treasury Department to carry out efficiency measures, advocated repealing the Civil Rights Act and backed the eugenic immigration policy in the weeks before President Trump was inaugurated. Oh my God. He was popping off right before he got this new job, too. You could not pay me to marry outside of my ethnicity, the account wrote on X in September. According to a Wall Street Journal review of the archive post, normalize Indian hate, the account wrote the same month, in reference to a post noting the prevalence of people from India in Silicon Valley. The account, null pointer, a misspelling of a keyword in the C++ programming language, was deleted in December, but hundreds of brash, sometimes sophomoric posts have been archived. The user appeared to have a special dislike for Indian software engineers. 99% of Indian H-1Bs, oh, that's why he had to resign. I get it. That's the real reason. 99% of Indian H-1Bs will be replaced by slightly smarter LLMs. They're going back. Don't worry, guys. The user posted in December. Just for the record, I was racist before it was cool. Null pointer posted in July. In June, the user weighed on the conflict in the Middle East, offering some sympathy for Israel, but also posting, I would not mind at all if Gaza and Israel were both wiped off the face of the earth. Nice, dude. Extreme centrist. Okay, it could be because of the H-1B thing, or more likely, it could be because of Israel. It is wild that so many groypers, like so many open, active Nick Fuentes fans are getting highlighted by this administration. It is wild. This is just your average Republican? Yeah. Estad is on CNN right now. Judge blocks Trump's buyout offer.
Angle, it's what Doge is doing with Elon Musk. It's what, the executive order about Schedule F and kind of the reclassifying of some of these workers as political appointees, making it easier to fire them. This has been something that the deluge, the fire hose from the executive order. So I was looking at that list. I was thinking how repetitive many of them are.
Do background checks not exist anymore? Bro, Elon Musk did the background check, chatter. He hired him because he was
in
racist.
terms of implementation, not just ideology.
And it's kind of how we saw Trump's personal legal strategy play out when he was out
Yeah,
of
he
office.
checked them all right.
A lot of his attorneys, not all, I should say, are working for the federal government right now, are going to be. But it's this kind of either delay, and just fight it out in the courts later, or just throw everything, file all these motions, and essentially take all of these attempts to fight this.
And let me go even farther back in Donald Trump's history. He came up as a real estate baron in this city by stiffing his contractors, right? His theory was, well, I owe this concrete supplier $100,000 for this job. How about I just pay you nothing? And then you, concrete supplier who has less resources than me, less time than me, you go hire a lawyer, you go sue me, and you know what's going to probably happen? Probably settle for a fraction of it. So it's really that same litigation tactic brought to the White House.
But what's different is this is the federal government,
Right,
and there
exactly.
are different responsibilities in terms of the USAID numbers really struck me tonight in terms of yes, there have been all the arguments about maybe this is wasteful or why are we spending money on this as a country. But to see that there are only 290 people left of an agency that had 10,000 people in it 2 weeks ago is a drastic amount. And it makes me wonder about the assurances that we've received and that Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, has offered, saying we're going to keep this up. But, I mean, you've virtually eliminated every position there.
They're trying to have their cake and eat it, too. They're saying this won't be a full, whole-scale change. Essential services would continue. But those numbers kind of to betray the point. Because it will be such a drastic reduction in the folks at USAID, I think what you're saying is important, though, because there was a desire for government reform. There has been a sense government's been wasteful, change is necessary. But is that what we are seeing? I think that's going to be the big question is really not, I think there is a mandate for shakeup, right? And I think Donald Trump is right to kind of claim that thing. But I think there's a much bigger question of what the solutions are. And that's the part the Democrats are really engaging in right now. Yes, it's a question of resistance to Trump. But the real question is, what should foreign aid look like, right? What does an efficient bureaucracy, what does efficient government look like? And Donald Trump is offering his vision of that right now. The question is going to be the counterweight.
Yeah, and we haven't really seen an alternative being offered to USAID in this sense. As Trump's talking about taking over Gaza and what that looks like. But, Ellie, what we heard from this judge, I thought this was a notable quote from the judge who blocked the midnight deadline, saying it has become ever more apparent that to our president, the rule of law is but an impediment to his policy goals. The rule of law is, according to him, something to navigate around or simply ignore, whether that be for political or personal gain.
Okay, so first of all, that judge that we're looking at right now, he's a Reagan appointee. He's not some liberal Democratic appointee. Those are pretty strong words. And I think that judge is identifying the same thing we're talking about. And look at this USAID reduction, right? The law is pretty clear that the president cannot on his own create or completely eliminate a federal agency. Congress has to do that. And so what does he do? He says, well, I'm not going to quite eliminate it. I'm just going to cut it from 10,000 people to 290 people. That was done strategically. And I agree. I think that judge is right. This is all about getting his policy goals, maybe expanding the law, and really sort of throwing red meat to the political base. And again, what's the cost to Trump? He doesn't even have to pay for his lawyers anymore. Now he has DOJ do it for free.
The only question to me is there a public response, right? Like, we haven't really seen a kind of engaged electorate or the type of pushback we saw back in 2017. Donald Trump, I think we know what this administration's goals are, and we know that they have a kind of multi-pronged legal and political strategy to advance them. To me, the issue is, where are they going to meet that resistance? We know the courts are going to be one place, but the place that will drive the elected officials will be if there's a public reaction. And we haven't seen that to this front. And I think it's important to say, is there a story about USAID and these government agencies that people do feel like essential services are being lost?
That's such a great point, because Trump is often driven by the coverage, the perception of something. He may not realize in the moment how something goes over. I'm thinking of Helsinki, when he was standing shoulder to shoulder with Putin. But it was only after the coverage later that he walked back his statement, because he's driven by the coverage of this. And so far, maybe they think, well, we've got tacit approval, essentially.
Yeah, there would have been a way to do this smart. I mean, there is government bloat. There is government waste. I mean, take the FBI. I could point out some people who may not be super necessary to the FBI.
Can you explain really quickly why a buyout in the federal government is different than a corporate buyout? Because people might be sitting at home saying, okay, well, corporations do buyouts all the time. Why are you guys freaking out?
A lot of people like corporate buyouts. The difference, though, is in the federal government, Congress has to allocate money. It's not just like a water faucet you can turn on and off. And so Congress has to allocate both the amount of money and the time in which it needs to be spent or cannot be spent. And here, if this buyout plan goes through, suddenly you're going to see, what's the math? 50,000 people times 7 months of benefits. I mean, that's probably hundreds of millions of dollars. So, yeah, buyouts are not inherently evil. In fact, they can be quite productive and helpful in the private sector. But here, the real question is it constitutional? And that's where I think he's going to run into problems.
Leonig, Estet Herndon, that was robust.
People love losing their jobs. They love layoffs, dude. It's the
Treasury Department's central
fan favorite. Yeah, I mean, people love corporate buyouts. You know who loves them? CEOs, shareholders.
symbolizing a deadly attack.
Oh my Lord. What else? What else is there to talk about today? I feel like I covered everything. We all hate CEOs. Let's play GeoGuessr. This guy really wants me to play GeoGuessr. Can you answer my question, please? Do you honestly think that America's racist because MAGA is basically a multicultural and multiracial movement that concentrates all of its hate towards immigrants and trans people? Okay. Yes, dude. Like, everyone can be racist. It's like saying, how could you say ICE is doing the bidding of racists? They're 52% Hispanic. I know. Dude, this is a really funny thing that's been happening. A brief note here. Newly pardoned January 6th rioter Andrew Take has been rearrested. The Harris County, Texas DA had an outstanding warrant for Take's arrest on charge of an online solicitation of a minor. Fantastic stuff. Turns out many of the January 6th that were arrested and were in jail were maybe not in jail for the reasons that they should have been in jail, but so many of them are taking the last 2 weeks of freedom to do everything in their power to go back to prison. Okay? They're working tirelessly. They are working tirelessly. They're getting final destination, but for jail. Yeah. Emily Hernandez, pardoned for capital riot since the 17 years in fatal DWI crash. There was another guy who literally got killed by a cop. Did they think that like getting pardoned means like immunity for crimes of the future as well? Like, is that actually what's going on here? But they were like, oh, dude, I got pardoned by the president. I'm unstoppable. Let me go do some crimes real quick. He's like, finally, finally, I can live out my dreams of soliciting minors online for sexual intercourse. Now that my president, Donald Trump, has given me the right to do so. I got immunity. Permanent immunity, brother. Nah, before January 6th, nobody wrote about members of those groups doing crimes. Yes, they did. Those guys are... Half of them had priors. They should get immunity again. Donald Trump should just release them again. Really set the standard. Set a precedent that if you've ever done something at the behest of Trump, if you've ever defended Donald Trump, then you get to you defend Donald Trump once, you get pardoned forever. I like that. There was a new alt-right playbook. Double wrong. Did you see the Daniel Penny news? Yeah, Daniel Penny was hired by Andreessen Horowitz for literally just killing a homeless man on the subway. That's it. Like, they did not hire him for anything other than the fact that he got famous in conservative circles for murdering a homeless person. It's wild. Yes, I did cover. No, I did cover the golden pager thing. All right. No gaming tonight. No, I'm too tired. I'm going to end it here, chat. I love you all. First day back. Hold on. This is the wrong one. First day back. Okay. Welcome back. America is worse than I left it. Somehow. Didn't realize that was even possible. But on that note, I don't know how I have stayed up this entire time because I sleep briefly on the plane. Didn't get to sleep that much. Hopefully I'll pass out in like 3 to 4 hours. But in any case, love you all. Tomorrow is another day. And I'll see you when I see you tomorrow. They said it couldn't be done. Japan to Los Angeles. Boom, boom, back-to-back streams. But it could. I did the damn thing. Love you all. See you tomorrow.
Uncle Uger's face. Sudden discord at your prop. Great names take embrace. Tiny Bernie Sanders, LGBTQ Air Force. The whole left at your fingertips. Ane at your door. H3 crowded debate, the Young Turks online show. 3 full fucking years of this, plenty more to go. 90-day fiance talks of champagne bourgeoisie. A Trump rally live reaction on mass riot at DC. There he is again, Hasan is streaming. Hasan is streaming. There he is again, Hasan is streaming. Hasan is streaming. Reading live stream fair comments, Austin show chat advice. And all the ways the right-wing pipeline can suck you in online. JCS react, Lord frame gets broken, cover blown. A full-blown mass pandemic monster streaming at your home. Total radicalization coming out to find. The system you were taught to trust in was broken the whole time. All these daily streams, whether big or whether small, I've helped me and so many find the meaning through it all. There is again a sun is streaming, a sun is streaming. There is again a sun is streaming, a sun is streaming.